All right, so when me and Jordan met with Joey about what we might talk about today, the idea was, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and the thing we talked about was what's some stuff that Jordan and I come across a lot that could be useful to anybody. So I'm going to try to really quickly give you just a few concepts that come up all the time. It was just recently, I went through the first thing on your handouts is the infinity loop. I was going through this with a couple, and they looked at me and they were like, does this happen a lot? And I said, I've already had this conversation 3 times today. That's unusual, but that day it was true. So these are just some useful things that happen in different ways in almost every relationship, almost every marriage. So I'm going to dive right into it. So right here, this is the pursuer withdrawer loop, or I might say, because I don't like the word withdrawer, I might say pursuer distancer. It happens very frequently. So we've got this infinity loop, which is on your sheet, and we can drop in anywhere on this because there's really like an infinity loop. There's no beginning, no end. But let's start at the trigger. Okay, so you're married, you're getting along, then something happens, and now obviously it's going to trigger some sort of emotion or feeling in you. A lot of times it's going to be connected to fear. So fear of abandonment, fear of getting hurt, fear of re-experiencing some past trauma, fear of rejection. Something is happening in the relationship that makes me feel scared on some level. And if I'm not really connected with that feeling, it's probably not going to come out as fear. It's probably going to come out as, especially as a male, anger. Because that's the only other emotion we're allowed to have, especially males. But we can be happy or we can be mad, but we can't be any. If you're sad, you're weak. If you're scared, you're weak. You can't hide all that stuff. So I'm going to get angry. So there's 2 players in this, obviously, the pursuer and the distancer. If I'm the pursuer, and I probably just should have made that big, but if I'm the pursuer, okay, I'm scared now. I'm thinking of the problem in terms of there's unresolved conflict. Something is wrong. We have to fix this. I need to talk to you about it. I need to talk to you about it now. We can't go downstairs and let the kids see us unless we resolve this. And that's what's driving me, right? It comes across as anxiety. It might come across even as criticism. And so I'm going to pursue. So I'm going down the hill here into, I'm after you. We got to fix this now. No, you can't go to work yet. We got to fix it. Okay, you locked yourself in the bathroom. Knock, knock, knock. You got to come out. We got to fix this. So now, but what happens is, in my best efforts to pursue, to fix, and especially if I'm coming with a lot of intensity, especially if I'm coming with any ounce of criticism, what the other hears is, you messed up, or you're bad, you're wrong, you're stupid, you're crazy. Any of these things, like that might not be what's being said, but that often is what's being heard. Especially if that sort of triggers fear on the other side of the same things: rejection, abandonment. If you think I'm stupid, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm wrong, what does that mean about our relationship? What does that mean about our connection? And does that mean we're in trouble? Does that mean, and now, especially if I've come from a place, if my family system originally was an extreme of, it could have either way. We didn't talk about problems. When there was problems, shut up and deal with it by yourself. Or when problems got big, people got hurt. If I have either one of those experiences, I'm going to be very uncomfortable with any sort of conflict, very uncomfortable with any sort of tension, and that's going to trigger my fear. And I'm thinking of the problem in terms of escalation. If this keeps going, it's going to be bad. It might even break us. We might not make it through this. So we have to stop. So they're thinking we have to stop. You keep pursuing me, but you're making it worse. The more we talk about it, the more we go at each other, the more we say things we regret, the bigger I'll have to apologize later, and the bigger of a mess we have. So I'm going to distance. This is bad. This is not good. Like, we have to stop this. So and because I can't handle the tension of the moment, I'm going to distance myself. And so down we go. But that triggers fear on this side, because what's driving the lack of connection? As I see the distance, my need for connection increases, my fear of disconnection increases, so I pursue more. And now here we go, over and over again. And sometimes it calms down and it's okay for a while, but my solution triggers the other person's solution, which triggers my fear, which triggers their fear, and off we go. And the reason this is helpful, and the way I'll pull the trap, so it is in couples therapy, is I'll say, well, they'll describe this to me in their own terms, and I'll say, well, you guys are doing the same thing. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy. And I say, you're both trying to save the relationship. You're just doing it in ways that trigger the other's fear. If the pursuer can learn to give the distancer a little space, if the distancer can understand this chasing of me is not looking for a fight, it's looking for a resolution. They're doing this because they care about me and they care about our connection. Even though, from my standpoint, the way I handle things, it seems crazy, it's actually intuitive if I give them space for it. So we need a way to kind of meet in the middle. A lot of times I'll suggest a timeout, but there's very important rules about a timeout. You can't just walk out the door, because guess what that does for the pursuer? It triggers their fears. So if I need a timeout, that's honest, that's okay. But I've got to be very clear. Hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm starting to get to that point where I know I'm going to say things I regret. I'm getting to that point where I'm not able to listen and sit with you in this moment. Can I have 15 minutes to kind of gather my thoughts and walk, or whatever it is I need to do to emotionally regulate? And the pursuer needs to be okay with that. Yeah, I'll take 15 minutes as well. It might need to be 30 minutes. It might, if it's 12:30 at night, it might need to be tomorrow morning, because nothing really good happens that late. So just kind of realize that we're in this, and the other person's not trying to make this worse. But that's the trap. Like, that's another trap we kind of fall into, is like, you're not wrong in saying the pursuer is feeding this pattern because they're pursuing. The distancer is feeding this. You're not wrong, but you're not looking at your part of it. And that's where the plank in your own eye Jesus talks about, I think that's where this shows up in marriage. If my wife would just, if my husband would just, well, you're not wrong. But that's also not helpful. It's also not useful. So what do we do instead? I've got 2 more graphics on there. I'm going to try to go through pretty quickly because we got trying to cover a lot of ground here today. You see the communication continuum. This is kind of left to right, extremes on both ends. We're looking for the balance in the middle. On the far left, you have passive communication. That's cold shoulder. That's no communication. That's stonewalling. That's from that Gottman 4 Horsemen. That's the stonewalling that we covered last semester. I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I'm leaving. I'm not even telling you why I'm leaving. I'm just leaving. Then there's passive aggressive. I'm trying to get you to hear what I'm saying, but I'm not going to say it directly. It's like, I wish someone would take out the trash sometimes. Like, well, that's not quite what we're looking for here. And then I'm going to jump over to the far other side, assaultive. Like, if you're being violent in your communication, all behavior is communication. So if I'm using violence to get my way with you, I'm trying to tell you something, but I'm just not doing it in a way that's good for anybody. And then pull that back into aggressive communication. Maybe I'm not even threatening you physically, but I'm getting loud, I'm getting big, I'm threatening, I might be threatening emotionally to leave or disconnect or make you look bad in front of your friends. But we want that balance in the middle of assertive communication that can tolerate conflict, but is direct and kind. And Brené Brown says, clear is kind. Sometimes we put an overemphasis on being nice. But sometimes kind is, hey, when you're doing this, it really impacts me in a negative way. And I think we need to figure this out. I'm not okay with this behavior continuing. Maybe it's substances. Maybe it's the way they're parenting that you think is almost borderline abusive or is abusive. Like, this is not okay. And I know that hurts your feelings. And I got to be okay with that right now. Because I'm not here to protect your feelings. I'm here to build a healthy home. Now, we want to be responsible to people's feelings, but that's a whole nother talk we don't have time for. The last one here is a FAB statement. It's one that I learned when I was doing residential treatment for boys with substance abuse. I would coach the parents through this. So I was the family therapist. I came alongside the parents as they took their boys along this journey. And FAB statements was one of the big things we talked about. I feel about because. I could tell you lots of stories about that, but I'll just get to the practical. I feel, insert emotion word, sad, glad, mad, or scared is a good place to start. It's an easy way to rhyme it and make it memorable. Sad, glad, mad, or scared. About, and then you try to name as objectively as possible what happened. What made you feel that way? Because, and then you share why it triggered that feeling. Because think about it this way. The example I always use, imagine a couple. The husband, it comes from a loud, boisterous Italian family. When they get loud, that's just the way they talk. That's just when they get excited, their volume goes up. The wife, came from an abusive family. When things got loud, people got hurt. A lot of different meaning behind volume, right? So when they get into it, whether it's about the trash or the kids or the finances or whatever, he gets loud because he gets excited. And that triggers her, and she says something like, "You always yell." Well, okay, now we're off to the races. I wasn't yelling. I'll show you yelling. These are the kinds of conversations that come out of that, of a you always or you never statement. But if that young lady were able to do some work and understand that her emotion in that moment is tied not just to what's happening in front of her with her husband, but to all of this history behind that she has in her past, she might find a way to say, "I feel scared." And you can say when instead of about sometimes. The grammar just works better. "I feel scared when you raise your voice because it reminds me of times when I got really hurt as a child. Could you try to control your volume while we're doing this?" Imagine what kind of different conversation that would bring. Now, because she didn't accuse him of doing anything, and she said, "Raise your voice," which is a little bit more objective than yelling, because that's when you start an argument, and then you're arguing about the way you're arguing, and then you're arguing about if you're arguing right, and then all of a sudden we're arguing and don't even remember what we're arguing about. Like, let's argue about one thing at a time. Let's argue about the trash. If we want to fight about the trash, fair enough. Let's fight about the trash. But let's talk about the way we talk, meta-communicate in a way that, hey, when you talk to me that way, it makes me feel this. It makes me feel stupid. It makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel insignificant. It makes me feel small. Could you try not to use terms like that? Could you try something different? Because you can tag a request on the end of this. "I feel scared when you raise your voice because it reminds me of my trauma. Could you try to lower your volume?" And that creates a whole different dynamic than this you versus me. Because what we want to do, what I try to do every time I have a couple in front of me, is shift it from you versus me to you and me against the problem. If we can get on the same side and realize you're not my enemy, you're not the adversary here. You have flesh and blood. That's scripture, right? So you're not my enemy. That's what God told me. I'm not here to beat you, to win you over, or to coerce you into seeing my side. I'm here to align with you, to unify with you, with a common purpose and a common goal, and that is to glorify Christ through our marriage. And we're just not doing that right now. What can we do to do that better? How can I honor you more? And then when you flip it that way, it completely changes conversations and it completely changes the dynamic. All right, that's all I got. I'll pass it over to you.
I shouldn't have gone last. All right. Well, my name is Jordan Stevenot, licensed clinical therapist. So I'm just going to jump right into just for time. When we were thinking about this too, it's like, all right, what are some skills, something that will be quick, concrete, that hopefully you can leave here thinking like, you know what, I think I could do that, right? And so that's where I was thinking of. So we've talked about marriages, we've talked about parenting, and so it's like, so there's a common denominator in that to me that was showing up as I was thinking about this relationships, and so, because then this is something applicable then in your marriage, as a parent, with your kids, close friends, it doesn't matter, right? Like just any relationship, this is something that you could be aware of. And so if you look in there, and I'm going to kind of go through this a little fast, but this is Dr. Dan Siegel. He actually has YouTube videos, all kinds of things. He does it way better than I do. But he has this like hand model, like of the brain. And just really fast, like this upper portion, kind of represents, prefrontal cortex. That's where like problem solving, critical thinking, like really thinking clearly and on our feet. Then you have like the middle brain, limbic, and that's like emotions, memory. And then it drops down into here, into the wrist of like, they call it the reptilian brain, like survival mode, fight or flight. And what he does is like, so imagine that's the brain, and when it's all working together, right? Like, that's what you want to kind of imagine. Everything's working in harmony. We're able to problem solve. We're aware of what we're feeling, all these things. But before I get into this right here, I wanted to ask, when you think of relationships, I mean, like, what are some things, like just throw some quick stuff out there that can be challenging or that you found can sometimes be difficult to navigate? Any relationship.
Direct you are, people.
Okay. How direct? Sometimes like unintentionally, like speaking too direct, or what do you mean?
Just being very clear on what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A lot of people like you to dance around their feelings. I think that it's better to, so there's no guessing.
Okay, so for you, like it's like, all right, I need the clear picture here. If you're starting to like hint or get like, I'm gonna get frustrated. So that's something that could be a struggle in relationships.
So it's a lose trust.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you dancing around this one? You say.
Okay. One more.
Kind of to that point, just the difference in the way couples are often wired. So some might need the direct, but some might not.
That's right. Some it might have the opposite effect. Like, oh gosh, what's happening right now? Okay. Any others real quick pop up? Just think of relationships.
In parenting, balancing like correction and rebuke with positive reinforcement, encouragement, support, those things.
Yeah. So thinking of like areas that you might feel like you do really well, but then also thinking about areas that are struggle points for you. So let's go back to that kind of picture of the brain, putting it all together. So if this is the prefrontal cortex where we're able to think clearly, right? Think about it. Like when you're maybe disciplining your kid, let's use that as an example, and maybe you raise your voice, and you're having to hold them to the, feet to the fire, right? And it's like, you can watch them sometimes if it keeps going. Like they start to get a little dysregulated, and like this part starts to go offline, and that starts to raise up, and that's where we say it's flipping your lid. And then right here is like, it's the next phase, right? That's where like the emotions and the memory and like, so it's still kind of holding them there, right? Like they're still kind of with you, but they're starting to squirm, right? And like, well, if you see like with a thumb where when this pops out, like SOS, right? Like they are fully flipped. And we think, well, why aren't you listening? What's wrong with you? Right? Like, think about, we've been there, right? It's like, well, we got to ask ourselves, did we just become part of that process that flipped their lid to where they're no longer even able to hear what I'm trying to teach them? And so it helps us as parents to kind of go, oh, wait a minute. By the way, when this happens, their whole nervous system's shot. They're in fight or flight. They are in survival mode. They're in that reptilian brain. The problem solving, focused thinking, all of that, wave goodbye. They are not hearing you. So what do? You have to let them reset. Kind of like what Chad was saying earlier, like, is it a 15-minute walk? Right? Is it like, we just need to both, let's go walk, right? Like, because like they can at least follow the basic, like, okay, walk, I can walk, and like, but then they breathe. And that is what calms your system back. And then you circle back around and it's like, okay, let's try again. Now that was an example that you might see someone else, right? That is really helpful. You can see it now. If you look for it, you'll see it. It's like, I'm losing them. They are literally like, I'm starting to not feel engaged and starting to feel disconnected. But it's really important now for you. So it's good for you to think of yourself too as like, wait a minute, where am I at? Like, a lot of times like we can get here and we can catch it. But like when this part goes in the middle and that part, like, I'm done. And that's where it's like, okay, I need to walk, right? Because anything else after that, you're not thinking clearly. And so this is just a very, and there's some stuff in here that is also from the context of like working like with adolescents or like working in a program, some of the wording and terminology, but that first page really breaks it down of just emotionally regulated, I have flipped my lid, right? And so just being aware of that for yourself too, because like you're not going to be making a whole lot of sense, and what you're wanting to even say isn't even going to be heard, because what are the other person going to hear and see instead? Anger, frustration, disappointment, right? Heightened. And that's something else too, by the way, like humans, like we mirror each other, and so with like, I'm sitting across from somebody and I'm like, woo, like I got high intense energy. It's kind of like, all right, I'm either going to match that or I'm kind of freaked out right now. Right? So nobody look at Joey. That wasn't a hit at Joey. But think about that, right? And so if you're getting animated with your kid or with your spouse, and they're like something inside them's kind of like, oh gosh, I need to meet this, right? And then that's where it's like, like, okay, now we're both flipped. So keep that. It's easy to remember, I hope. So that's one. The next one. How am I on time? Got a little bit of time. All right. I need a volunteer. If it helps, you don't have to hula hoop.
I'm out then.
Come on. You don't have to even say a whole lot. I just need one.
Did your spouse need to be in here?
She has to leave. No,
I've been told, but I can't volunteer.
So it's got to be, can I do it?
yeah.
Okay.
It's for the sake of time, right?
Yeah, well, just break the ice.
All right. So that's yours. Oh gosh, calm down. All right. So this is your space. This is going to be interesting. Oh, they are smaller than I thought. All right. So I just want to like go through a couple of steps. I want you to just kind of notice like kind of what you feel a little bit. Like this is going to be between you and me, and like y'all just kind of pay attention, right? And I'm going to explain obviously what all this stuff is. But first, so I want you to be aware of like, how's this feel right now? Does this feel okay? Yeah? Yeah, you're not telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable.
All right. What about this?
A little less comfortable.
A little less comfortable? That's fine. That's fine. It's like, what about this? What's up, Joey?
A lot less comfortable for me
Okay.
personally.
And do what, naturally you're wanting to do at this point. No, seriously.
I'd probably just like
Back up a little bit.
just a smidge.
Well, what if I came here? How's your comfort zone?
Really not good.
No. So if I like came in, like no. Okay. All right. Okay. You get. Okay. You can go sit down. All right. So, well, actually, no. Come stay up here for a second. Stay up here a second. So, walk us through real quick, just like your comfort level, like as it shifted.
Okay. I think actually that's more uncomfortable.
Okay. What was this?
That was a little more comfortable.
Okay.
And then take just a little step up, maybe. That's probably.
That's your sweet spot?
I feel really good here.
Okay.
I feel good here. You come in there.
I was expecting you to give me a hug in there, man.
Well, I would. I mean, I didn't know what we were doing.
Okay.
You were gonna.
All right.
I'm sure.
What did it feel like as I started to come closer?
It felt like you were in my personal space.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you got past a certain point, like I would in a regular conversation, I'd go ahead and step back just a little bit.
Right.
And probably, keep moving if you kept coming.
Yeah. No, I get it. Well, I mean, too, you're joking a little bit, but like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need to back up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, now you can sit down. Thank you. So, this represents you. Okay? This, I call it the resolution circle. That is your partner. Now, this is your child. This is your spouse, close friend, like you name it, right? But what did it feel like first, you guys watching that happen? Come on.
I felt anxiety for it.
Yeah? Yeah. Anything else come up? Just a natural... Oh, come on. See, it's fun. I love it. People are like, oh my gosh. All right.
It seemed like he had a natural response.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else that you noticed just in yourself, like watching this kind of like happen? Or anything to add of like what you observed just in body language or how he handled it or how I handled it or anything?
It depends on who's in the other circle.
It does.
If it was your spouse, you'd been like,
Right.
You got
that's
that.
a straight.
Right. You did. You really did. So with these concepts in mind, and you're thinking about like when you're interacting with someone, it's like you got to imagine like what it must feel like for your child or your spouse, right, to like start walking towards emotionally, verbally, like with what your plans are, what your correction is, whatever it is, like we need to do, to the point to where you're invading their circle of like, let me tell you what you need to do, right? Like kind of like, well, I'm right. This is what needs to happen, and like, what does that bring out in each of us? Some of us are going to retreat. Some of us are going to fight. Some of us are going to just freeze and shut down. The sweet spot, just if you're wondering, is this. And so I want you to be able to walk away. It's like, where am I at in the hula hoops, right? Because this is you, right? This is self. This is like, who am I? What's going on? Why am I even about to engage in this? What's motivating me? And it's like, and so then when you step in here, it's like you're inviting that other person to step in here with you. It's like, okay, let's problem solve. Let's figure this out. Let's do this together. Where I'm still kind of grounded and like, all right, this was my goal. This is what even pushed me here. But I'm also leaning towards and inviting in. Now, you can take this as deep as you want. I mean, some people need encouragement, like, hey, come on, right? But you need to remember oh man, I've kind of been in this space for a while and it's kind of starting to lose sight of why I'm even having this conversation. Let me go kind of center myself real quick. And if you think of even what Chad was using, it's whether you're the pursuer or whether you are, in fear or what you hear. It's if you're not in this and aware of what's going on with yourself, it's going to get further and further away from you. You're going to get more and more wrapped up in your own emotions, your own fears, and to where you're not really in any kind of resolution. So we don't have time, but this is where I would want people to think about okay, well, where do you find yourself? And so I will ask you to think about that, with your spouse, with if you have kids, friends, what does it feel like if you put yourself in this situation? Are you aware of what's going on for yourself so you can even meet somebody in that healthy space? And so the model of the brain, hand model of the brain, right? It's just where are you at? Are you regulated? And then this is just more of asking yourself, whose hula hoop am I in? That's what I really hope you guys take away from this. I'll stop there, but any questions about this exercise or anything that stands out, you're okay, I didn't think about it like that, or something that you can connect to, something that's that makes a lot of sense.
So in that dynamic, you got someone who is very direct, let's solve this problem, whatever it takes, and then you got someone who's hey, let's just kind of not think about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, what
Right. Well, if you're the one that's direct, you're going to have to resist this, to like just walk right over and invade. And like, you're going to try to do your best to like stay centered, like remind yourself of like, okay, this is me, but that's not necessarily them. Right. I can still get here and I can invite them in. So this is something else that in like my work that I had to learn a long time ago. We cannot guarantee anything with other people. Like people are like, can you promise me that this is going to change? Can you promise me that this anxiety is going to go away? Can you promise me that the marriage is going to get better? Can you promise me that my teenager is going to stop going crazy on, sneaking out, whatever, right? You can't. But I did like figure out like you can guarantee opportunities. Like that's what you can guarantee. Like I can guarantee that I am going to work my best to create an opportunity. What they do, ultimately, that's not in your hands, right? What you do, that's in your hands. We talked about it a little bit too, like with that whole concept of like with our children, like they're not ours, they're God's. Man, that hit home for me as just a good reminder, because I always like, how can I control this? How can I get them where I need them to be? And it's like, gosh, man, like, that is not ultimately going to be up to me. But am I setting an example? Am I offering an opportunity? Like, hey, you could meet me here. You could do it this way. So hope that helps with that. Something too that I was thinking about when Chad was talking. We do something, all of us, it helps us survive. And we have an internal narrative going, right? It's like, how's the weather look outside? Do I feel safe? Do I not want to walk down that dark alley? Like whatever the things are where you're just constantly monitoring. It's like, is this person look like they're okay? Or they look like they're about to hit me or shove me like some people, right? But like, you ask yourself, you're constantly writing that narrative of all of these countless stimulus and triggers happening all the time. So it's good. We need that. But we also do that in relationships. And we make an assumption after an assumption after an assumption. We read some body language, or we read some tone wrong, and we just start writing our narrative. Oh man, they're just so upset with me right now. Like, oh man, they're just disappointed because I didn't do this right. And now we just fill in the blank of like, it must be this. And so I tell people all the time, like, check your narrative. Like something that comes up in couples work all the time. Check your narrative, right? Do not assume that what you're writing is right. Now, you need to say, this is what I'm feeling. Like Chad was saying, it's like, right? Like the moment you say, you just attacked me, you just did this on purpose, like, no. It's like, I'm feeling this kind of way. Can you help me understand what's going on? Man, I think I'm misreading this. Whole different conversation. So that was another thing that was just coming up a lot that I wanted to pass on too. Is just like, check your narrative.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all writing one, but we don't often just say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Is that right? Because then a lot of times it's like, no, that's not it at all. Yeah. And it's like the whole impact versus intention. It's like, no, I didn't mean to do that. What are you talking about? But then hearing from someone's like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but my impact might have hurt your feelings, right? That wasn't my intention, but you never get to that understanding with each other if you're not willing to say, hold on, let me ask some questions. So that's what I got. Yeah. All right.
Stand up there and we'll have you with some questions.
Man. Well, I think we're out of time.
And that's a wrap.
Thanks for describing every fight we ever had. Appreciate it.
You mean every conflict resolution?
How do you, I'm going to kick this thing off because I'm curious. I feel like in like my relationship with Rebecca, like stepping into that, one of those circles, she's more apt to step in, like, and us address some things.
Mm-hmm.
With my kids, though, sometimes it feels like like I gotta drag them into a circle. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like I'm stepping in, but it feels like the way that I'm stepping in is from a disciplinary. So it's like, so almost like I'm having to discipline you and tell you something you did wrong and you've done wrong and try to correct that. So what would be a practical way to kind of pull, does that make sense? Am I explaining that right? To pull it, to get them into a circle, not necessarily where this is perfect, but like, there's a step that they've got to take to get in there too, right?
Right.
Is there a way to like, get them to let their guard down in a sense to be in a circle?
Yeah.
I think doing your stuff, like checking yourself first is probably the best way to do that, because if you approach that situation thinking in terms of misbehavior, you're going to think in terms of correction. But if at least you start with curiosity around, like, because that's what makes this thing work, the way I frame it, like I usually do, like y'all are doing the same thing. They get curious, and like, well, that's confusing, but because if I understand like that, okay, little Jimmy is where he's being crazy, bad, or stupid, I'm going to respond to him a certain kind of way. But if I ask myself the question, what makes this make sense? Why would a 13-year-old be doing these types of things other than the narrative of he's crazy, bad, or stupid? Well, now what happened at school today? Like what? So now I'm starting a whole different sort of mindset. I'm getting back to here, and thinking, okay, instead of I gotta set this kid right, and being very intentional about that. So now you can get to correction if you need to. I'm not taking that off the table, but we always say in the family therapist or family workshops I did, connection before correction. If I understand what's going on with you, I'm going to correct in a very different kind of way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so much, and it really does boil down to like relationship. Does he see you as someone that's coming after him? Does he see you as nothing but authority and fear, right? Or is it like, oh, it's love, there's some accountability, but there's relationship, and within like curiosity, man, that will save you so many stressful situations. Like the difference between assuming and leaning into the worst possible thing that you think is going on versus, hold on, like, let me just get some clarifying questions out there. Let me ask you what's going on, like you're saying, because then they're like, oh, you care about me. Right? And then don't get me wrong, there's sometimes where it's like, okay, I'm going to yank your butt over here right now, like kind of like Scorpion, Mortal Kombat, get over here, right? Like right here. And then but where you can, it's like, no, look, hold on. Like, let me like walk over here with you in this relationship and show you what it looks like to come here. I mean, where you can, that is the preferred way. And the quicker you do that with your kids anyway, start young. Yeah. Right? I've worked with so many parents that waited until 13, 14, 15, and it's like, man, if you've waited till then to go, well, maybe I should like talk to my kid, right? Like, that's gonna be a hard road. Yeah. It's still doable. I did a lot of work with those families, but it's hard, right? Versus starting young where they learn right away. Like I think of my daughter, like she is so sensitive to me. I mean, if I don't get loud normally, but I mean, not even getting loud. I just look at her wrong, and she's, it's like just starts to fall. It's like, whoa, right? There's so many times I have to first assure her that our relationship is okay. And then now you're about to hear some things you don't like. But it's in that relationship place.
Question over here.
Is it by your metrics in the curiosity culture, like if you create that culture where you're more curious first and necessarily being pointed or dogmatic, does that create enhanced trust equity? Like in your kids, would that magnify the capacity for trust equity? Mm-hmm. Is that what you see?
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Because once again, right, that's saying like you care about me enough to even check, right? Like because they're kids, right? They're so used to like everything else around them being told, go here, do this in the classrooms, like all kinds of different authority messages are sent to them all the time. Oh, you're just a kid, get in line, right? It's like when you are saying, you know what, I'm an adult too, and I have the most authority over you, but tell me what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
How'd you even get here right now? What happened?
What does the hand model eventually, does it always force, if you're constantly authoritative and just, giving directives instead of being curious, does that eventually force the reptilian behavior?
Eventually.
Okay.
And it depends on the relationship, right? Like if you and I, like if we had good rapport and you kind of like led with maybe a little harder than you normally would, but we've got good rapport, well, then they're probably holding on, right? But if your rapport isn't the greatest and they're just used to like, it's coming.
Or they
here
dissociate.
it is, right?
And they shut down. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Right.
And you've lost them then.
Yeah. And they actually, in the handout too, they call it fawn, where it's like that over the top of how to make this right. Is everything okay? Can I do this? Is everything all right? And so that's also something too, where it's like they just want it to stop. Like, that's it. That's also not a good place to be.
When you were talking about the being curious, like for me, why is a triggering word. It's still accusatory for me.
I agree with that.
Is that just me, or is that usually accusatory? Like, why would you do that? Is that like you're
Well, that is very accusatory.
yeah. It's kind of like that's what why always leads to is why did you do this? Why would you do it? Why are you doing that?
So how does this sound instead, right? It's like, could you tell me more? Right? Like, can you tell me what you're feeling? Right? Like, man, what were you going through just now? That's something I like to do it like with my kids all the time. Is like, what are you feeling right now?
Yeah, flip it to a what.
Yeah.
If you got a why question locked and loaded, see if you can flip it to a what, and it'll be less like, what's going on? What happened? Like what?
I
Yeah.
think it's with me with the why it sounds like you've already made a judgment and now you're trying to.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are you messed up?
Right.
Yeah, it triggers defensiveness. Yeah.
It does.
So it's kind of you gotta not even get to the assumption first,
Right.
because once you've done that, you're already.
But see, I would probably work that out if that was two people, right? It's like that, like more aggressive why, like there's something going on. Like they're not really listening, right? Like they're just waiting for the counter. Like, ha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? What'd you do? Ah. Like, okay, you're not really engaged in relationship in that moment. You've already written the script, right? So then I would say then that person's lid is either flipped or close to being flipped, right? Themselves, like for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What's your advice, just quick advice, for facilitating this kind of stuff between siblings? Like, not necessarily, I'm not in it, but like, it's kind of hard because I got a 6-year-old and 3-year-old, so it's not exactly like they're gonna, but like.
Wrestle it out. No.
They're girls, they're not
Here's
gonna wrestle
pool
it out.
noodles.
Okay.
They're gonna have emotional warfare.
Okay.
But like for when they get older, or,
Yeah.
more able to talk to this kind of stuff.
I got something, but you
My first thought is to maybe get, like, if you see that escalating, take them to their corners and one-on-one, help them regulate, model that for them separately, and then try to facilitate some sort of coming together. That was my first thought.
That is, definitely. If they're like already both flipped and they're ready to go, probably not going to get a whole lot done. So kind of take them to their corners, kind of get an idea of what's actually going on. But what I found too, like with my kids, it's like, okay, I got to help them sometimes get past the awkward pieces of it. Like, it's like, all right, hug it out. Oh, all right. It's like, all right, tell the other one what happened, what made you upset. I don't wanna, right? Like if you let them, right, they typically are gonna kind of, that's vulnerable, it's uncomfortable. Maybe they're not even sure why yet. They just know it, just like, oh, that feels weird. So helping them like, hey, like this is okay. This is how you do this. Right, and so that coaching, teaching of like, oh no, try it again. No, don't attack her. Right, it's like right now, just tell her how you felt, what hurt your feelings. Right, like what would you like it to be like next time? Like just coaching them along. Because otherwise, right, they're just gonna be like, oh, this is weird. Get away. Right, I'm fine. Yeah. So I would say help them lean into the uncomfortable parts of that.
I kind of have a question.
I was about to say, you look like you had a question.
Wheels will turn. Following that, how would you tell them once they go to school, when they get into a conflict with somebody else who's not really willing to do that? How would you teach them to handle that, I would say? Which is a little tougher, but also more of a day-to-day thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's good that you facilitate it at home, but then it's like not everyone's willing to be that meet you there kind of thing.
Right? So much just came up in my mind. But just that base truth, right, for them of like, you can offer, you can extend the opportunity to them. If they refuse it, man, you get back into yourself, into your peace, and protect it.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I see that with teens a lot. They get really like, they're like Batman, right? Like justice, right? Like you're gonna make this right, you know. And it's like, buddy, like you gotta let that go. You're making this way worse for yourself. My son, oh my goodness. Anyway, so just remind them of that. It's like you're not gonna force them. Yeah. Invite them, right? Be a witness, be an example. Yeah. Like, we could do this different, right? But then beyond that, you don't let them then get like all dysregulated because they're not doing it. They're not doing the right thing. It's like, you got to let that go. Yeah. Right? So, yeah.
Is that basic boundaries that we keep talking about?
So those hula hoops, man, you could do so much with those, right? As far as like just example after example of like different family dynamics and like different personalities and how that all functions. But ultimately it is about like, so if someone's invading your circle, for example, and you're not ready, nope, right? How do I set this boundary, right? This is my space right now. I'm not really comfortable with you coming. It's a physical representation of what happens with all of us in relationships emotionally. Now, that's why it's something that you can hold on to, hopefully. It's like, where am I at in the hula hoops? Like, it's just a physical representation of something that's happening all the time. It's just in that internal place with your emotions and what's going on inside. Like that is just a representation of it. So yeah, emotionally setting like, nope. This is really having an opposite effect on me.
Yeah.
So I have two nephews, both boys, and I don't know why I said that. Of course they are. Anyway.
Thanks for clarifying.
We're tracking.
You
We're
never
tracking.
know these days.
They're always feeling like they're in competition against each other, and it's like constant fuss, fight.
Yeah.
I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm this and that. And how does it, how do you make them appreciate each other without it being constant fight?
Don't just live in the loop,
right?
Yeah.
You get a magic wand. No. Well, there's no making.
Yeah.
Let that go first.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can teach the lesson. You can offer a different way of doing things. And then sometimes as a parent, when your kids get older, it starts to become about your boundaries. Like, okay, you're choosing to continue this. That is not going to be tolerated in this home or around me. Right? Like.
So you would actually be like, go outside.
Yeah.
Fight it out.
I mean, I don't know if I tell them to fight it out, right? But
I mean, they're kind of getting to that level of.
So I'll tell my kids, like, as they got older, I was like, you know what? I think I'm having to stop the lectures. Like, you could give me a PowerPoint presentation of what I'm about to say, couldn't you? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, and I was sometimes like, what do you think I would say right
But a
now?
lecture feels so good.
I know. Actually, not anymore. I get tired, man. But, I'll ask them sometimes, like, what do you think I would say? And it's like, okay, so you know the lesson. You're just choosing not to do it. So.
Is there a point at which it becomes obedience before, like, understanding can follow obedience, but I need you to obey first, and then we can have, like, is it ever come to that point where it's like, you may not understand why I'm saying what I'm saying,
Right.
why I'm asking you to do this, but I just need you to obey, or is that?
I think we need to give them a reason. Like, and there will be, especially when they're younger, because I said so, there might be, you just have to be that. But like, for the most part, I think we owe them a reason, but we need to remember They're giving them a reason. They don't have to buy what we're selling. Like, I don't have to convince you it's a good reason. Like, you may not like my reasons, but it's my reason.
Just so they don't think you're doing it for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can't go out Friday night because you didn't meet curfew last weekend. That's stupid. You're allowed to think that.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I know in my own like personal experiences with some of my older, kids, like I definitely had a moment or two. I was like, you best check your tone, and now try again, and I'll listen. Right. So it's still a little bit of that. I think it is a combination of like there is respect, right? Hopefully, like taught, and role modeled.
Yeah.
Like I want to give this to you as well, right? But sometimes you have to set that once again, like, you need to try that again, right? Because that is not how you need to talk to me right now. I want to hear you, but not like that.
How does it apply to marriage? It's one thing when you're the authority, something else when you're.
You should go with that line. You should check your tone. Yeah, works every time. No, I mean, look. Here's something I encourage every couple to is like, do not walk on eggshells. Like, don't. It is destructive. It's hurting your relationship. And it's like, now that doesn't mean like, okay, well, I'm just going to start like yelling and screaming and stomping around. It's like, no, it's just like, say the thing.
Yeah.
Now, use these tools of like, this is something comes up a lot. Am I about to come from a place of care? Or am I about to come from a place of a wound, a hurt, frustration, anger? You might want to pause that and kind of check, like, am I regulated enough to really say what I want to say right now? Right? But then but say the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hurt. I don't feel close to you right now. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
But it's from a place of care, because I want to be close.
Yeah.
So it's just being willing to like lean into that, like, gosh, I'm about to have to be vulnerable. And so it still works. You just have to be willing to like step in to some of those uncomfortable conversations. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.